Oh, my word, everyone. What a show you just missed. I tell you, what a day this has been. I really need the safe space. I need all of you. I literally just done half a show and nobody was tuned in because I didn't click go live. And at one point during that stream that never was, I was actually saying to myself, I wonder why the view counter isn't working here. I wonder what's going on there then. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie me. Oh, dang, dude. Oh, it's nice to see some of you actually waited around and hung around for me coming on live. I am so sorry, folks. We've got Pat in there, Queen Goddess, Nana, ZX, Lisa. Big shout out to you, sister. Who else we got? King. King, you are a character, my friend. I love you to bits. We've got Russell in there, John, Fred, all the way from Portugal, man. Love you, dude. And of course, Coney, such a big part of the Kev Baker show now. Yes, indeed. And I tell you, folks, I can't stop laughing here. Honestly, that was priceless. Really, really priceless. I went to go into the chat room to see what people were saying about some of my previously unseen footage from within Beliskin House. Yeah, I was letting you all watch that, or at least I thought I was. You know, after last night's show where Alistair Crowley came up, and we're going to get into a bit of that a little bit deeper here in a moment. Since it's Freaky Friday, TGIFF, thank goodness it's Freaky Friday, right? But what a start to the show, folks. I can't believe it. Only I could do that. And like I was saying, you really did miss a stream that never was. Yes. So big shout out to everyone. I'll go into the chat room as the show goes on. But if you did hang around for the madness, I thank you so much. If you're just turning up, you've missed not a thing. Because I done half a show without going live. Rookie mistake. Could be worse. Could be worse. I could have done it on Freaky Friday later. Yes, I'll be simulcasting Freaky Friday on tfrlive.com. The home of Freaky Friday, home of the Kev Baker show. But of course, we'll be simulcasting right here on YouTube. And I'll tell you what happened. I'll turn the music off. Cut the music. Cut the music, Coney. Well done. See, Fred, Coney. He's happy. So I'll tell you what happened, folks. I'll be brutally honest with you. got put on new meds yesterday from the doctor. I'd mentioned not sleeping well, and they're trying to put weight on me and things like that. So piles of new meds and things. And usually when I get a sleeping tablet, something that they say will make you sleep, never ever works, right? So I came off the show last night, took the tablet, didn't think anything of it. And then, getting all that nice and cozy way and into bed and boom, gone. Next thing I knew, it was 13 hours later. And then it took me a good few hours to clear the grogginess out the head as well. And I still ain't totally back to normal. So I think that is my excuse that I'm going with for the false start, the show that never was. And what happened, right? For Chris, I thought Kristen might have given me the heads up there. I thought she might have messaged me on Discord. I'm only joking. I had Discord closed. I didn't even have Discord open. So I'm going to have to keep Discord open from now on, just in case little mini disasters. That was a mini disaster happen like that again. But like I was saying, last night's show about Aleister Crowley, it wasn't even meant to be about Aleister Crowley. I just thought that was an interesting story because it had him. We'd been talking about the royal family. We can link through his kind of connections to the elites and Loch Ness. But what we got into was some of his own writings and some of his own language and some of his own words about not just the monster up in Loch Ness, but why he selected the property, Boleskine House, and he got really deeply into how he set about this operation, as he calls it. And as we'll get into as the show progresses. Now, I'm not going to be about as long as usual today because I've got Freaky Friday coming up. And because of that really false start, my fault, half an hour I was going before I realised, I'll try and go as long as I can here, but I still need to have some time to kind of switch about and get ready with the guys for Freaky Friday. But like I say, when we get into Crowley's writings, I've got this footage that I only came across today when I started looking back into it. I was looking at some of the photographs I could have shown you on here. And I found 1 minute, it's just 1 minute of footage that shows you something totally profound. And it backs up a lot of the stuff that I've given you anecdotal evidence of when I've said about the fire. And of course, Aleister Crowley's house now, Boleskine House, it's been in ruins after not one but two fires. And there's a new foundation have come along and they're going to restore it to its prior glory. They're going to be teaching all of Crowley's works and all of that jazz. So we're going to take a little look more at that. Since it's Freaky Friday, I think that'll set the stage rather well. And this is so weird. This is so weird. This is like the longest, kind of weirdest deja vu ever. And what's worse is I really nailed it that first time out when we done this segment of the show. So I'm hoping it's going to be just as good this time round. You'll be none the wiser. Only I'll know. And yeah, but Boleskine House, Crowley, I think that's good woo for a Freaky Friday. What do you think? And a big thank you to all the members on the channel. Thank you for being here. Big thank you to everyone who's here just to watch the show. Maybe you love me, maybe you hate me. That's okay. Please remember to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Leave a comment. And if you want to become a member, just go to the channel page and click join. We need 8 new members. Come on, folks, we can do it. 8 new members before the start of December to get the Mothman emoji. Everyone needs a Mothman, right? And then what we'll do is after that, we've got the Scottish gnome that Mannerus kindly produced for the show. And that'll be the next one after that. But maybe not, because the members get to decide. And on Sunday, you really do have to be a member if you want to be a part of the fireside chat. Yes, indeed. I'll be filling in a bit more of the backstory, the behind-the-scenes stuff that's going on here at KBS and with me personally. And that's for myself and you, the members out there. Definitely time for us to sit and have a little chat, especially when I'm doing half an hour of a show and it wasn't even switched on, Anne. And Anne's finally stopped laughing at that. She's finally got over it. She thinks it's hilarious. I think that might buy me a couple of days of grace from the show. Yes, indeed. And Nana, it's great to see you in the chat room. It really is. You've been sorely, sorely missed. I know you've been really, really busy. But I hope you're doing well, and really great to see you in the chat today. And I'm really looking forward to getting into some of this footage that I've got of Boleskine House. So how about we rattle right into it? And we're going to go look back at a story that I covered on last night's Kev Baker show. We're not going to sit and laboriously go through all of it. There's just a couple of quotes that I want to take. And then hopefully on a future show, we can either get Ryan Gable or we can get Armand, our very own Armand, to come in. He's in the chat room here. He can come in and we can go over some of the language that appears in Crowley's writings. Some of it's capitalized, some of it emphasized. And because we're dealing with a master magician, a wizard of great, great power, and somebody who did know how to use magic, when it comes to words, they're literally spells. And when it comes to somebody like Crowley, I think you have to look at his language very closely. And I think somebody like Ryan, somebody like Armand will be able to do that. So we'll do that in the near future. We're going to get into these two paragraphs that I've set aside for us today to look into. And then I'm going to take you inside Boleskine House. Oh, yes, indeed. We'll have the old sound effects going, the thunder crackling. Oh, I can't wait. Yes, indeed. So then let's get into this article. And it's an article from one of our favourite websites here. And that is, of course, the Mysterious... Oh, look, see... You're almost seeing inside. You're almost seeing inside Boleskine House right there. Yep, almost. So we'll pull this up here. There we go. And yes, we are still live. Now I'm totally paranoid about that, everyone. Totally paranoid. So let's get on some sound effects, because it's Crowley. We always have sound effects for Crowley, right? Let's see. Armand in the chat room. Armand, we need to hook up, not today, but at some point, maybe a week from now, I'm going to do some more digging. But I want to get into some of the language that we're about to see in this story. See if it means anything different or if it's got double meanings, maybe triple meanings going on. There we go. So then, let's scroll down here, folks. Aleister Crowley and the Loch Ness Monster, the great beast's own words. And this is why it really, really interests me, because not very often when I talk about Crowley, Boleskine House, Loch Ness, usually it's more hearsay, anecdotal evidence, stuff that people have maybe left online. But right here, we're getting it from the horse's mouth, or more appropriately, or more specifically, the great beast, his mouth, Crowley's own words. And it ties in with not just the monster, but the house. And the house is of such importance, obviously to me, because I grew up near it. It's a strong local connection. Part of me thinks it's a kind of cool synchronicity as well, you know, that location on the banks of Loch Ness and me doing the job, the thing that I do now, this thing that I have a passion for, chasing down the woo, getting into the info. I don't know, I find some weird synchronicity there. That's why I keep coming back to him. And some people might say, but Kev, this guy died a long time ago, nothing to see here, leave it alone. Well, he was tapping into something that isn't new, and it's always been around, and it's very, very powerful. You could say it's some of the power and the magic that was hidden away by the mystery schools and some of that esoteric knowledge. And it's because of this magic, this magical world, and the ability to harness it, for good or bad, that enables so few people to rule so many. Many of them, is there, of the elites, the cabal, whatever you want to call them. And then how many billion of us are there? But they're able to do it through various forms. But magic's definitely one of them. And when you look at Crowley, a lot of the stuff that he was playing about with back then, a lot of the stuff that he was getting into, is very, very relevant for today. From the fact that you can look at the whole kind of sex magic kind of aspect of it and bring that forward to the world that we live in today. Some of the stuff that I get triggered by in Woketopia, and the fact that so many of our artists and pop stars and celebrities and the ones that people look up to and idolize, wrongly or rightly, no criticism, they're absolutely into the works of Crowley. So that's why I do think it's still important to really go after him, because it gives us a window into that world. And then when you've got people like Ryan Gable, people like Christopher Everard, and our very own Armand, that gives us a deeper look again. And yeah, it can be dark, but you know, I'm not putting it out there to be dark. I find it very, very interesting. And again, it opens up that bigger picture of reality. You know, it's not just our physical world that we see here. There truly are things that go bump in the night. Things that make you go, woo. Yes, indeed. So Crowley's writing here comes from 1933. Can you imagine, like, visiting Crowley's house? You go into it, and then it was a nice day, and then all of a sudden that weather starts and you're stuck there. You can't leave. Holy shimoly. But yeah, 1933, Empire News, a newspaper that's now gone. And it was a story called The Magician of Loch Ness. Uncanny happenings at Manor of Boleskine, evil influence. And Crowley began as follows. I've been very intrigued by the recent stories concerning the appearance of some fearsome monster, about 30 feet long, with eyes reported to be like the headlights of a car, which is alleged to lurk in the depths of Loch Ness. Now interested because at one time during the pursuit of my investigations into magic, I owned the notorious Manor of Boleskine and Abertarf, situated on the southeast side of Loch Ness, halfway between Inverfarrig and Foyers. Now I say notorious because long before I purchased the manor, it was already the place around which a score of legends had been woven. All of them of a mysterious nature. Thus the head of old Lord Lovat, who was beheaded after the 45, now that's talking about the Jacobite rebellion, the 45 rebellion there, was believed to roll up and down the corridors of the rambling old place. Now there was another legend that a lunatic was murdered by his mother by smashing her brains out against the wall, and that she returned at times to pick them up. Now these alone had sufficed to give Boleskine an evil reputation, and my own experiences are by no means diminished that evil reputation. And I can tell you that my own experiences do not take anything away from any reputation that's out there about that place. Now this is where these two here, where it starts getting really into the bit I want us to focus on. And the bit that really ties in with the footage that you're going to see from Boleskine House. So it says, Crowley continues as follows. So you will appreciate my interest in the latest story of Loch Ness, about which there have been so many speculations. I notice that the monster has been seen by a number of reputable people who speak in odd tones, some suggesting that it may be a survival from some prehistoric creature released from some fastness in the earth by recent blasting operations in the district. Now I'm going to have to check what the blasting operations were. It may have been something to do with hydroelectric, but I'm not sure. We often talk about subterranean worlds and what might be beneath the surface of the ground and things. I'm going to dig deeper into that, see what was going on there, what exactly he's talking about. Others, that it is some mysterious monster from the deep which has made its way to the loch, from which it cannot now escape. I know not. I only know that all the time I have Loch Ness, or I have known Loch Ness, it has always been regarded by those living in the vicinity as the loch which never gives up its dead. Divers who have gone down as far as 200 feet have told of huge fissures and holes in the bottom of the lake, whilst the deepest soundings have yielded over 700 feet as its depth in places. Now let me just stop there, and I think a local story ties in with what we're hearing here about the divers who went down there. Because we also heard how Crowley mentioned that locals say it's the loch that never gives up its dead. And unfortunately, there was a boating accident at one point on the loch. I'm not sure the time period, but it wouldn't have been too far away from around the kind of times that Crowley was up there. Certainly a story he could have heard of. But the divers that went down to recover the dead from this boat, when they came back up, they were in a hell of a state. And when they finally, somebody was able to talk to them and try and get out of them what had happened. One of them, he refused to ever talk about it ever again. Never said a word about what he's seen down there. And the other guy said, all I'm going to tell you is that's the bowels of hell down there. That opens up into hell, like the abyss. Wonder if that's what Crowley's kind of hinting at here as well. And I wonder if that played into him selecting the property, along with what we're about to find out in a moment. Because it says, I have no knowledge of this monster, but I have knowledge of the manor of Boleskine, where many uncanny events happened during the time that I lived there. Now, Crowley then addressed the controversy-filled matter of Boleskine House itself. It was in the early days of my magical studies that I decided to look around for a suitable place where I could prepare myself for the great, and I've highlighted this because this is one of the things I want to ask Ryan or Armand about. Quote, operation of sacred magic. Now, I think that's something really specific because of the capitalization of it, the extra emphasis with the quotations there. That's the kind of thing I want to start digging into to get even deeper into. Because I've always said, you know, he was doing this and he was calling up the Dukes of Hell and guardian angels. But let's drill down to what he was really doing. And it had to be a house in a secluded location with a door opening to the north from the room in which I was to make my oratory. Now, if we go on, it says, outside the door, I had to construct a terrace with fine river sand, and at the end of the terrace, I was to construct a lodge where the spirits might congregate. Now, that lodge might become very, very relevant in the weeks to come, because there's some information behind the scenes that I can't quite share yet that might incorporate this lodge into the whole bigger picture of what we're starting to find out was really happening at Boleskine, and I mean really happening. Now, all of these instructions I had gleaned from my master of the lodge. I need to find out what lodge he was in, of which I was an initiate, and at the time I was a young man with a fortune of £40,000, prepared to spend every penny of it on the achievement of my purpose, but I had scoured the country for a suitable residence in vain before I lighted upon Boleskine, which fulfilled all of my requirements. The great operation, again, operation, see it? Emphasized. Speech bubbles, speech marks, I mean, was to be commenced at Easter. Again, I find that quite interesting as well. Typically Christian festival, and at the same time you've got Crowley going totally in the opposite direction. And this is the bit that ties in with the video we're about to watch. I set aside the southwestern part of the long, low building for my work. And here you can see the long, low building. Now, if you look at the window on the right-hand side there, this is the room, as I call it. The room. That's the one where he was doing his working. That's the one where he says, in his own words, I set aside the southwestern part of the long, low building of my work, constructing my terrace and lodge outside the largest room there, in which I set my oratory proper. This was a large wooden structure lined with mirrors, which I'd brought from my temple in London. Now, that could be his house. I want to find out more about what he was doing in London as well. It's not because I'm a Satanist or a Crowleyist, or it's just an interest in what the heck was going on here. I grew up, a stone's throw from this place, and it just keeps on giving, it keeps drawing me back, and we get deeper and deeper into the story. And I can even show you the southwestern part of the long, low building of my work. Not just here, but I can show you it right here. Oh, folks. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because there was the 2 fires, remember? Well, after the first fire, I was gobsmacked when I got there. Because it was uncanny. You had one part of the building that looked like it had been caught up in some shock and awe bombardment from the Western Allies. It was just razed to the ground. But then, and this is where it was weird, just a straight line as you went into the southwestern wing of the building. The one where he was doing his work in. Check this out. Check this out, folks. Look, perfect. Absolutely perfect, right? Boom. Burnt out. And then right next door. Check this out, folks. Look, perfect. Absolutely perfect, right? Boom. Burnt out. And then right next door. Even the roof got it. But not there. And this bit here is the most active bit of the house. The southwest part of the house. My lord. Back to the scary room. Blue Days in the chat room. Blue Days. We absolutely love the Ghosts of Carmel, Maine. We were looking at the Shadow Dude. I'm sure if you're a fan of the Carmel, Maine Blue, you'll definitely know what we're talking about there. But yeah, Blue. Shadow Dude. Whoo-hoo. I tell you though, this house you're looking at here, Blue, I think this probably takes Carmel, Maine and makes it look like some kind of kindergarten, because this room you're about to see next, this is where it all went on. Right, come on, do something. And shut the door, big. Right then. If there's anyone there, make some kind of noise or talk to us or do something. So I'll pause that there and we'll just watch the first little portion of this again, because it highlights that, isn't that kind of strange how you've got one part of the house just razed to the ground and then this? Check this out, folks. Look, perfect. Absolutely perfect, right? Boom. Burnt out. And then right next door, even the roof got it. But not there. And this bit here is the most active bit of the house. My lord. Back to the scary room. Right, come on, do something. KBS with a set of balls there, eh? Come on and do something. Oh, I wish I hadn't shouted that out with hindsight. That's when things start to take a little turn for the worse in Boleskine House. But yeah, that's the exact, that's the bit of footage that I think ties in perfectly with the writings that we were reading yesterday from Crowley. But there's one other bit that I think is very relevant to the room that I'm standing in there. And it says there was much more to come, as Crowley made abundantly clear. The work would take me at least 6 months, and in view of certain dangers and interferences which I had already experienced from a rival magician, I invited another initiate to stay with me by way of company. He had not been there a month before he felt the strain unendurable. One morning I came down to breakfast to find him gone. The butler was surprised that I did not know that he was going away by early boat that morning. He had come down in a rush and simply vanished. And it was years before I saw him again. One day I returned from a wander over the hills to find a priest in my study. He'd come to tell me that my lodgekeeper, a lifelong abstainer from any form of alcohol, or any form of alcoholic liquor, had been raving drunk for 3 days. And he'd tried to kill his wife and children. I got an old Cambridge friend to come down and stay with me, but within 3 weeks he began to display symptoms of panic and strange fears, stating that there were presences in the place of an evil nature. At length he left me, and I carried on alone. I devoted myself to the task of preparing certain talismans, squares of vellum, inscribed in Indian ink, and in order to take my task, or make my task easier, I did this work in the sunniest room of the house. And yet even on the brightest days, I had to use artificial light on account of the eerie darkness which could be felt. Now that's the room that you're looking at there. And granted, you'll see that the windows are shut. But it was a lovely day outside. And look how dark that place is. Now, I can appreciate exactly what he was saying there. Well, Anne just got the heebie-jeebies, because, you see, this is the room that Anne took one look at. And see the shoes that she usually throws at me? They've got another purpose, folks. She was out of there like a rocket. I've never seen Anne move so fast in all my life. But yeah, even just looking at that on the film there again made Anne get the heebie-jeebies up her. Indeed. Indeed. I don't know. There's just so much woo about this place, folks. And it keeps on dragging me back. And like I say, I'm going to dig in deeper into some of the things that Crowley's own words, what he was talking about, in reference to like what was going on up in Fort Augustus, my neck of the woods, Loch Ness, that kind of thing. Because I think it really ties in with a lot of the stuff we talk about. And the history of Boleskine. We heard a little bit about the history there, right? And the fact that it was even rumoured that before he came along, there was some really dark stuff going on with somebody allegedly murdering people, hauntings. And I wonder, again, on top of that report about the abyss and everything when the divers went down, and could it be, and with Brent Thomas in the chat room, how apt, but could it be some natural portal up in that neck of the woods that Crowley had identified? A portal that's been there for however long, for whatever reason. And we do have a lot of ley lines in Scotland, a lot of paranormal activity up my way. That loch, you could be here for a week telling all of the stories about the loch, and I just wonder just how big a phenomena we're actually dealing with here. I don't think Crowley was the one to open it. I think he might have utilised it, maybe made it bigger, welcomed more things through, but I honestly think that area up there is one of these natural places on the planet where you just get some weird shit going down. From the things that happen locally all around the loch in the various villages, you know, just stories that you can't get into on air, but things that I know about and the weirdness and the woo, and it's just one heck of a place. If you had a meter that you could take into a location, some kind of woo meter, this place would be off the dial. Whee! The needle would just break. It'd be swinging off. There's places like that on the planet. Carmel, Maine, that we mentioned before. That there too. That's a portal right to the dark place. I don't care what anyone says. I don't know what's going on in that location. I don't know what opened that portal. But that's a doozy right there. And that's a great channel to check out on YouTube, folks. I'll bring it up right now. The Ghosts of Carmel, Maine. But you've got the Bermuda Triangle as well. And I've got a story about the Bermuda Triangle as we dive into a few more headlines as we go along here. But there are these places. And that's why I think it's really important to take a look at. And of course, it's great woo, right? So the Ghosts of Carmel. There he is. Shadow Dude. There it is there. There's the channel there. Well worth subscribing. Come on, folks. He's at 99,000 subs. Let's get him over the line. Let's get him to the 100k. Get him his Chrome. I think it's a Chrome play badge you get when you're at that level, right? Let's get him over there for sure. So we'll put that there. Yes, indeed. So yeah, I'm coming into the chat room to see what people are saying. And I'll go to my good friend Brent first. I think this was the location that Crowley performed the Abramelin ritual, which I understand he never finished. Absolutely. And just to build upon what you said there, Brent, let me go back to the story because he talks about that. He actually talks about it. So we got to the bit about the sunniest room. Yeah, even on the brightest days, I had to use artificial light on account of the eerie darkness, which could be felt. It was if the faculty of vision suffered from some interference. But I completed my talismans and then sent to the chiefs of the Second Order in London. That there's something that we need to dig into as well. The chiefs of the Second Order in London for certain documents to which an initiation in Paris entitled me. So Crowley's been to some secret society, ritual, initiation type ceremony. He's got to a level now that he believes entitles him to ancient writings, ancient texts, for lack of a better term, a magical spellbook. And it was at this time that there occurred a revolt among certain members of the order, and as a result, my operation was delayed, as it meant waiting for the following Easter before I could continue with it. Now, I've always told the story this way. Halfway through doing the Abramelin magical working, he got called away to Paris because of urgent Golden Dawn business. Now, I would imagine then he's gone to Paris to try and sort out what the hell's going on, because he's thought he's a certain level. He's not. But I had no idea about this trying to get paperwork from London. And this is what actually initiated or prompted him to leave. I had always heard he'd got a call to go back to France, to go and do something. That's the way I had always been told the story. Like I say, this is why I'm really interested here, because we're starting to get to see even deeper into what was going on, be able to decode better what was going on, and maybe understand why somewhere like Loch Ness, the Highlands, is the way it is now. And again, it gives us that bigger picture into the mindset of the magicians and the wizards and the witches and the warlocks and whatever else you want to call them, that the people in power, they're absolutely using. They're harnessing all that stuff. That's how they do it. That's why we see all the things in movies that we see. The magic of Hollywood, the magician's wand. It's all tied together. And what do the people in Hollywood worship? Boom, Aleister Crowley. Couldn't make it up, right? So I'm going to play a couple of small seconds of music here, get a little drink of coffee, do my usual, and I'll be back and I'll see what the chat room are saying about Crowley, and then we're going to move on. We've got other stuff to look at as well. We've got an update on Greta, the time traveller, and of course, looking forward to Freaky Friday later with the Woo Crew on TFRlive.com, simulcasting right here, and then right after that live on TFRlive.com and simulcasting on YouTube will be Brent Thomas, the Paranormal Portal. So I'll be back in 2 short minutes, folks, and I'll leave you with some of my very best moves. My very best music. Come on. on, these are some cool tunes, right? I think they go with the kind of retro graphics, I think. Pretty cool music, right? Better than usual. It's got to be better than usual, right? A little bit better. I think it's got a bit of a 80s kind of TV show feel to it. I don't know. It's got something like that going on. But yeah, as we can see, we're back. We're back with Greta, the time traveler. Yes, indeed, this is a story that we covered here before. And it's made the mainstream. Yes, indeed. Greta Thunberg, time traveler? Mind washer. Girl in the photo from the 1898 resembles the activist. Yes, we don't need to go into this too deeply. I just thought it was interesting now how the mainstream are picking up on this. And it says, could Greta Thunberg be a time traveler sent from the future to save humanity from the unfolding climate crisis? Ah, dang. I know they were trying to build her up, but come on. A cadre of Twitter users seem to think so. After the photograph of a young Klondike gold miner bearing a striking resemblance to the Swedish activist was discovered this week. The now viral 1989 image of 3 children operating a gold mine in Canada's Yukon Territory is part of a sprawling collection by the documentary photographer Eric Hegg. So yes, we've looked at that before. Like I say, I just wanted to bring it up because I like the whole time travel concept idea. Again, we could talk about time travel till the cows come home. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Humans don't even understand what time is, folks. We might be able to measure it on the atomic level, but what is time? Eh? For you, right now, all of us, we all experience time in our own unique way. Some hours fly, some hours drag in. You get me, right? So yeah, I think it's great to kind of have a bit of woo over time travel from time to time. I don't think Greta Thunberg is a time traveler from the future or the past. I just think she's the poster girl of a really well scripted kind of propaganda campaign that's been waged against us all right now. So yes, moving on from there. Of course, it's another day. Another end of the world scenario is upon us. And it comes from Tom Horn. Now, Tom Horn is somebody that I've listened to for years. First came across him over on Coast to Coast, and he was talking about the prophecy of the popes. And that was that this pope we have now would be the very last pope. Now, I don't know, this pope's a bit of a doozy, right enough. He's a character. Oh, yes, indeed he is. He's as big a globalist and a climatologist as our friend Greta there. But Tom is back in the news again. And he's talking about the asteroid Apophis. Now, we mentioned this the other night on the show. I can't remember who it was with, but we brought it up. I think it was Ben Emlyn Jones, actually. But it says Apophis 99942 is a 370-meter wide Earth or near-Earth orbit space rock that continues to pose a destructive threat. Initial observations from the space agency in 2004 revealed a probability of 2.7% that it could strike Earth in 2029. Well, start shitting yourself, folks, eh? 2.9% chance. And just wait till Tom Horn adds his spin on that. But additional observations later ruled this date out, claiming it would pass through a gravitational keyhole, setting up a potential future impact in 2036. By late 2008, the probability that Apophis would pass through the gravitational keyhole was determined to be very small, ruling out an impact. However, NASA later admitted there's a 150,000 to 1 chance of a direct impact with the Earth in 2068. So it comes down to say, they also revealed on April the 13th, 2029, that Apophis will pass Earth within the orbits of geosynchronous communication satellites. However, and this is where we get into the good woo, you always need a bit of good apocalyptic end of the world woo coming up. Biblical scholar, now I'm laughing, right, but bear this in mind. How many times have myself, Joe, and Scotty talked about the fact that, maybe we are heading towards some kind of reset, some cataclysm, and it's not to cause fear. It's just like cycles. We talk about cycles a lot, right? That's why we bring it up. And hey, I hold my hands up. Maybe I shouldn't be laughing because one of these theories might just be right. I don't know. And I provide, you decide. And if you think this is spot on, that's absolutely perfect. I'm not going to tell you you're silly. Some of the stuff I believe, you would definitely think I'm silly. That's one thing we definitely try to practice what we preach here. Yeah, sure, I laugh at some topics and things, but never take it personally if it's something that you truly believe in and hold close to your heart. Now, I'm never going to pander to people and just say I agree with things so I don't hurt their feelings. That's not the way I roll. But yeah, when it comes to this, maybe I do kind of laugh too quickly. So let's see what he's saying, shall we? Biblical scholar Tom Horn sensationally claimed to the express.co.uk that Apophis could strike in less than 10 years from now, marking the end of the world eerily on Friday the 13th. Wow, the woo that just keeps giving. So he said the asteroid Apophis has a far greater chance of impacting Earth in 2029 than they're letting on. Now, I don't know if it has or it hasn't, but I've got a good idea that they wouldn't let on. Let's face it, they're not going to tell us, right? It would cause instant panic, even if it was, 10 years away. So I agree there, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a great chance or not. The claim comes ahead of the release of The Wormwood Prophecy, a documentary which Mr. Horn promises to lay bare the apparent evidence he has discovered. So Mr. Horn believes the Bible warned of such events. He added, I intend to disclose facts that are stranger and scarier than most people can comprehend, and it's going to shake the public to the bone. This involves a cover-up of the highest order by national space agencies, including NASA. Chief technology experts and working scientists agree with me. But what is more concerning is that this was prophesied in the Bible for the end times. The book of Revelations is the final book of the Christian Bible, which tells the story of a man called John on the island of Patmos in the how'd you say that again? Aegean Sea, I think that's it. Addressing a letter to the 7 churches of Asia. He then describes a series of prophetic visions, including figures such as the 7-headed dragon, the serpent, and the beast, culminating in the second coming of Jesus and therefore the end of the world. Chapter 8 of the text reads, when he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour, and I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. Then the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a huge mountain, all ablaze, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood, A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. Now the name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. And Mr. Horn believes the prophesied wormwood star could in fact be Apophis. Now I think at one point as well it's key to say, and I could be wrong here, but I'm 90% sure that Tom Horn also said that Nibiru, Wormwood, Planet X would be arriving around 2012, but I could be wrong there, folks, okay? So if you're a Tom Horn fan, aficionado, and I've got that wrong, I apologise. But I know there were some people in and around that kind of circle, Steve Whaley, kind of Russ Dizdar people. And not to dismiss them, but back, I'm trying to remember like over 7 years ago here. So I just remember something like that. But I tell you what I will say to this. All joking and laughing aside, you know, I always say that there's always somebody prophesizing the end of the world this day and that day. I have been talking in recent times about how I think, just my opinion, we're getting ready to move on to something different, a new phase, a new age, call it what you will. Talking with Ben Emlyn Jones about how maybe the asteroid threat could be the one that they use to not only bring all of the people in the world together under a global government, an outside threat, like Reagan said, but also at the same time, we're ending wars on the face of the planet. Military-industrial complex ain't just going to go away, and they're still going to want their money. So the weaponization of space. Well, if you tell the people there's an asteroid that's 10 years away, 20 years away, you bet your bottom dollar that people will be quite happy to throw money at the weaponization of space to save us from that great enemy, that great rock. We'll all come together and we'll all do, you know, multinational science projects, and you see how that could work? So yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on what Mr. Horn's saying, and we should always be trying to keep an eye on everything. Isn't that the main thing here? Never let anything become a distraction. You hear people talking about, oh, this is a distraction, that's a distraction. Anything, everything's a distraction, if you let it be. And it gets hard. It's like balancing the plates again, like the circus act, trying to keep them all going, running from one to the other, making sure none of them fall. That's what it's like trying to stay on top of all the topics that we cover here. But I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But moving on, I was talking about the vortex that could be up in Fort Augustus, Boleskine House, Loch Ness, and the energetic parts of the world that we find, these natural kind of vortexes, stargates, for lack of a better term, maybe. And Bermuda Triangle is back in the news as well. Yes, this is quite cool. I don't think the Bermuda Triangle mystery has been solved. I'm going to answer that question right now. But check this out. How a 200-foot giant squid washed up on a Florida beach. Yes, and look where it is. Look at that. Remember that place? The most haunted place in America, allegedly? St. Augustine? Yeah, Brian had asked us to do a segment on St. Augustine. See, I remembered that. The discovery of a 200-foot-long carcass on the beach of St. Augustine, Florida, led scientists at Yale University to claim one of the Bermuda Triangle's most famous cases had been solved. So let's just take a little look at this here.
The Navy suspected the boat was attacked by an enemy submarine. But many years later, another fantastic theory emerged to explain the loss of the Cyclops and other missing vessels.
I think among the most famous, fabled dangers of the Bermuda Triangle is the infamous giant squid.
Yes, the infamous giant squid. And I like this kind of topic because I've done a show with Clyde Lewis. Done a number of shows, actually, with Clyde Lewis about monsters of the deep. Yes, we take a look at Nessie. We take a look at other reported sea monsters, creatures, beasties. And the giant squids come up in our conversation before. So it says the Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle. Now, I've always thought of the Devil's Triangle being over in Asia. There's a triangle that's recognized there as well. I could be wrong. Is a loosely defined region of the North Atlantic Ocean where a number of aircraft and ships have disappeared. The vicinity of this so-called triangle is among the most heavily travelled shipping lanes in the world, with vessels frequently crossing through it for ports in the Americas, Europe and Caribbean islands. Popular culture has attributed various disappearances to pirating, the paranormal, or even a giant octopus, the Kraken, I'm joking, whose legend has been passed on by sailors for hundreds of years. And Amazon Prime's Inside the Bermuda Triangle revealed how one of the region's most infamous victims, the loss of the USS Cyclops over a century ago, sparked a wild theory. Narrator Mike Smith in the 2007, he says, on March 4th, 1918, the Cyclops, a 542-foot Navy collier, left Barbados bound for Norfolk, Virginia. On board was a crew of 309 men. Now, strangely, although the Cyclops was among the first ships ever radio-equipped, it never issued so much as even the most preliminary SOS. The Navy suspected the boat was attacked by an enemy submarine, but many years later, another fantastic theory emerged to explain the loss of the Cyclops and other missing vessels. A giant squid. Yes, indeed. So, goes on to say, in 1986, a carcass was found on the beach in St. Augustine by two boys, and they reported it to Yale University. It was 200 feet long and was identified as a giant octopus. However, analysis in 1995 contradicted the claim, concluding the discovery could have actually been a large mass of collagenous matrix of whale blubber. I don't think how you could mistake a whale blubber and a giant octopus. I'm just saying. In addition, Dr. Jeffrey Mariev, who knows, from Vancouver Aquarium claimed it would be impossible to find such a creature in this region. Giant octopus only occur in the Northeast Pacific Ocean. Well, until you find a giant squid somewhere else, right? So the kind of octopus that might occur in the region of the Bermuda Triangle would be very small species, and it would most likely be associated with rocky drop-offs from the islands. Now, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this. I want to move on to a couple of stories before I leave you today. Another 5-10 minutes and I'll get out of here. Get ready for Freaky Friday coming up as well. But yeah, giant squid, you know, when I see a story like that, and the fact that it came from St. Augustine, a story that we've covered here on the show before about the hauntings of that place, definitely good woo. Now we're going to move into some of the stuff that it's a bit more safe spacey, you know, a bit more kind of what the heck's going on there. And like I say, after that, I'll get out of here. I'll get ready for Freaky Friday, and we'll see you all back here soon. But while I just get these links up, let's get back into those groovy tunes. They were pretty cool, right? Yes, indeed. And Brent, thank you very, very much, brother. Yeah, Not this year, but definitely next year. Come on, let's get the Kev Baker Show channel over 100,000 subs. We need to get there, folks. I want to have my Chrome play button hanging on the wall there for y'all to see. Yes, indeed. I think we've all put in the hard work to get there. And it's only going to be through you out there we can do it. So like Brent said in the chat room, please share it out on social media. And do me a big favour as well. Go and sub to our good friend, Brent Thomas. Yes, I'll bring up his channel here as well. That's what it's all about, folks, helping each other out. And as a content creator with over 90,000 subs, just keeps going down all the time as they keep on trimming off all the dead subs. But what we're going to do in the near future again, and I'm going to bring this up right now, but I'm dropping Brent's link in the chat room. Yeah, what we're going to do in the near future, it's a guest I've had on the show before. We're going to bring on somebody called Ian Corzine, and he is a social media lawyer. Now, it's been a couple of months since we spoke to Ian before, but being a content creator, we've got the Paranormal Portal comes in here. We've got Jason, we've got Dead, GPK. We've got a lot of people who do their own work on their own channels. Well, what I've done in the past is I've gone to Ian to talk about Article 13 in the EU, which is now Article 17. That's all about copyright. And of course, now we've got this new COPPA laws and rules to understand and everything, all the changes that are going to be taking place on the platform we're on now. So I'm going to be reaching out to Ian in the next couple of days. It might be a very special impromptu stream. Hopefully we'll get him for the main show at night, but if Ian hasn't got time, we'll just go live. As and is, and I'll be announcing that in the next couple of days. So yes, that's one to look forward to. But now if you're eating your dinner, put it away. Oh, you know, I get it. If you're a doctor or a nurse or a caregiver, you know, you obviously have rule number one, preserve life, right? But I can think of maybe a couple occasions when that must be really kind of hard. Like this next situation here where, you know, I get it. You're a doctor, you're a surgeon, you save lives, but would you honestly go this far? A surgeon on a New York bound flight sucks pee-pee from the blocked bladder of an elderly passenger in a life-saving procedure. Now, I'm not one of these channels on YouTube that tell you to drink your own pee-pee, and the surgeon wasn't drinking his own pee-pee either. But would you go that far to save a random stranger on the plane? Would you go that far to save your own partner? Oh, I tell you, I don't know, Anne. I don't know if you need the old pee-pee removal move. I don't know. I think I've got a bicycle pumping like out the back somewhere. That would definitely do the job, right? Like I say, who knew? Ever heard of this life-saving procedure before? What if the surgeon's just a raging deviant? What if he's looked at this like maybe it's a good-looking passenger and he thought, hey, hang on, I'm a doctor. If I don't suck the urine out of you in the next 2 minutes, you're going to spontaneously combust, right? I'm sure that wasn't the case. But in Bizarro land, you just never know, right? So quick-thinking surgeons on board a flight from southern China had to improvise to save the life of an elderly passenger who had almost a litre of urine trapped in his bladder. The unnamed passenger ran into trouble around 10 hours into the China Southern Airlines flight to New York on Tuesday after complaining to cabin crew that he could not take a wee-wee. After 6 hours, or with 6 hours to go before landing, Zhang Hong from the first affiliated hospital of Jinan University in Guangzhou, and Zhao Jiangjing from Hainan Provincial People's Hospital in Haikou responded to a pilot's call from medical assistance, the South China Morning Post reported, citing local sources. The passenger was placed on the floor on his side, and Zhang said he had to assess the situation quickly. Oh, I'm sure he did. Brown chicken, brown cow. He saw that there was a risk to the bladder could rupture with possible fatal consequences. He said the pensioners, that killed the brown chicken, brown cow moment, didn't it? The pensioner's abdomen was bloated. He could not sit still and was sweating a lot. He was going into shock and may have suffered a risk to his life, and he didn't tend to him urgently, or if we didn't tend to him urgently. His family said he had a history of prostate enlargement, so we suspected this was causing urinary retention. Oh, hats off, man. Hats off. I tell you what, if you get a blockage in your pee-pee on a flight beside me, hell mend you. Oh, honestly, I don't know. I like to, like, I'll help anyone, but there's got to be limits. There's got to be limits, right? And then I found this last story to take us out. I don't know what to make of this, folks. We talk about dumb criminals and, like, silly criminals at times, right? But this next story, I want to see what you think. Because, I don't know, maybe this guy's got a case. Maybe this guy has got a case. Check this out. A convicted murderer claims that his life sentence was served when he died, and he was revived after septic poisoning. This has got to be some kind of legal grey area, right? So if we just blow this up a little bit here. This is the last story before I leave you to it, and I'll be back soon, folks. Don't worry. A man serving a life sentence for murder, claiming his sentence was fulfilled during his short-lived death after he was rushed from Iowa State Penitentiary in 2015 to the hospital, and his heart was restarted 5 times. So the Iowa Court of Appeals rejected the claims of Benjamin Schreiber, a Wapello County man convicted of murder in 1997. Schreiber said he overstayed his prison time by 4 years. He was hospitalized in March 2015 after large kidney stones caused him to develop septic poisoning, according to the court's records. Now, when he arrived at hospital, he was unconscious. Years earlier, Schreiber had signed a do not resuscitate. So he's got a DNR in place, right? An agreement, but staff or medical staff called his brother in Texas, who said the hospital could give him something to ease the pain. Otherwise, you are to let him pass, he said. Doctors administered resuscitation fluid through an IV which saved his life. Then Schreiber underwent surgery to fix the damage done by his kidney stones. So in April 2018, Schreiber, he filed for post-conviction relief, claiming that his mandatory death at the hospital, or momentary death at the hospital, meant that his life sentence was fulfilled and he should be a free man. Now, I know, he's a murderer. He's been convicted of it. And it's a bit of a push. But technically, right? Has he got a point? I don't know. Maybe with a good lawyer, maybe something could have been done. Right? So it goes on to say, Schreiber's other claim was that his due process rights were violated when doctors failed to follow his do not resuscitate request. Because the lower court did not make any judgment on it, the Court of Appeal said it could not address that claim either. His request was denied by the district court, writing that it found his claim unpersuasive and without merit. On Wednesday, the Iowa Court of Appeals affirmed the district court's decision, agreeing that Schreiber's sentence isn't up until he is declared deceased by a medical examiner. So Schreiber is either still alive, in which case he must remain in prison, or he's actually dead, in which case the appeal is moot. Judge Amanda Potterfield wrote in the Court of Appeals. It says, what a spin zone this is. He technically served a life sentence when he died, so he should be free, right? Makes sense to me. But F this guy, he is a convicted murderer, so I hope he continues to rot in prison. So yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting one. We always have our weird criminal kind of story on the Safe Space. And folks, I hope you can join me in just an hour and a half from now, 90 minutes from now, I'll be back with the Woo Crew for Freaky Friday. And remember, if you want to support the stream, we've got the PayPal link in the description. You can become a member of the channel as well. We would love you to be a member here. And if you're a member, that means you get the members only stream on Sunday. And I'll be starting that at 6 p.m. in the UK. And that's 1 p.m. on the East Coast, 10 a.m. on the West Coast. And that's the Sunday members only stream. And like I say, I'll be back later today. Give me 2 seconds, folks. We might have a bit of live woo happening around the house right now. Give me 2 secs. Cancel that. Cancel that. I thought we had black helicopters. No. We're in Glasgow city centre, so what happens is we get, like, the police helicopter and stuff like that over the centre of the town. So that's all it was, folks. Nothing exciting. I'll be back later for Freaky Friday. I hope you can join me then. I am so sorry about the start of the stream today. The stream that never was. I got to hear it. It was really good. But you got to hear it too when I started half an hour too late. My bad. My apologies. So I'll be back in half an hour. Keep checking the channel for the link. I'm going to post it right now. I'm going to go and set it up. TFRlive.com. And right after Freaky Friday today, we get the Paranormal Portal. Oh, yes, indeed. Until then, folks, keep looking for the information. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your mind turns to black goo. I'm out of here, and get ready to get your freak on. And as we say on Freaky Friday, can you handle our woo? Oh yeah.